They can't satisfy their hiring demand, and I can't satisfy my demand for coffee this morning. One of those days, right?
What what's the drink of choice in the morning?
See, most days I drink a pot, but yes, a whole pot. So I got these Starbucks venti mugs that hold 20 ounces. And if you drink two of those, I can wipe out a pot. And then I kind of see how the morning goes. And then I start thinking latte. I won't even eat food till like noon. It's
Hmm.
breakfast of champions over here. Not surprised by this article though.
No, no. I mean, logistics is one of those areas, at least now that with all the supply chain issues, is one that has a lot of focus. And the article talks about how demand for workers in that area of the economy is, I mean, it's insanity.
Dennis, how many people have called you a JMJ for logistics and supply chain people in the last 12 months?
Oh, that's quite a bit, to be honest with you. Not just coming from like distributors or logistics types company, but the manufacturers that are trying to that have a distribution center. Those type of jobs are in high demand right now. We probably get, I would say, maybe 2 dozen calls every couple months.
I think that's the tough part. You're in manufacturing, you manufacture stuff, but you still have this whole logistics aspect you have to deal with. You got to store the parts in your warehouse. You got forklift drivers. You still got to, you're still stuck in logistics realm, even though you're manufacturing something. I can't imagine, like around here, what did forklift drivers used to get? $14 an hour, $15 an hour. And now I see a billboard on I-75 that says, come work in Amazon for 18 to $22 an hour. Get, get benefits and college. Like you might be driving a forklift at Amazon still, but it sounds like a better deal, right?
I don't know how you compete with that.
Yeah.
And if you're a manufacturer working on like a 16% margin and your whole staff wants better benefits and tuition reimbursement, like it's tough. Amazon can do that. This tier two over here, yeah, they can't. They can. They're going to raise their prices, and then the big three is going to say you're too expensive, and then they're done. It's that simple.
We have
Have the
we have a client out west, Hurricane.
Mhm.
They're one of the they're in the ag business, and we're doing a couple searches for them in one of their distribution centers, and it's been more of a challenging search. And obviously, they're based in California, but this article kind of pinpoints why it's so challenging to find good talent in that part of the country.
I mean, Kane, how would you even do employer branding for
I,
a logistics company right now?
yeah, it's hard, right? One of the big pillars being like industry appeal or industry sexiness, and it's one that's difficult, but so necessary for just the flow of goods across the country. I just it's impossible. It's so hard.
A reoccurring theme on all the shows I do is the $6 to $7 trillion we pumped into the system, because you just don't see Bloomberg and CNBC talking about this. But why do we have a logistics problem? It's because we keep buying so much stuff. Why do we keep buying so much stuff? Because there's a bunch of money in the system. And I gotta imagine that this regresses at some point when we run out of that money. And then we're not gonna need all these jobs, right? We're gonna stop consuming at this breakneck pace where we have bought it, thrown it out, and bought it again at this point. In this like throwaway society that we're living in now. Like, our parents bought a toaster, when they were growing up, and they kept that. Hell, my dad probably tried to gift me one of those toasters when I moved out. That was 55 years old. Now it's like we keep a toaster 3 years, and oh well, Amazon's got a new one on sale for $17, and we buy another new toaster. We just keep consuming because we got so much money right now. So my thought is, when that money dries up, does all this come crashing back down?
even if it does come crashing down, James, can you see a scenario where everybody who's moved away from things like logistics, taking that job as a forklift driver at Amazon, do they all come shifting back? Can you see that happening?
There might be a rush back into like, I know a lot of restaurant owners have lost people to companies like Amazon. If you were a small restaurant that had, during COVID especially, where you had unpredictable revenue, this week it's busy and next week it's not. As a server and you're dependent on tips, how do you survive? And then again, you see the billboard on I-75, $18 to $22 an hour, and it's like, I can make 40 to 45 grand a year in Amazon, with benefits in college, and I gotta wonder if I'm gonna have enough customers today to make $50. That really put a hurt on the small businesses around here. Now, when things slow down, those people start like rushing back to hospitality, for example. Well, you got to make some money somewhere, right?
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah. And then Dennis, I wanted to ask you when you were speaking earlier about the hiring side, do you see organizations change the way or the kind of roles that they're hiring if they can't hire the kind of role that maybe traditionally that would have satisfied some level of demand that they needed? Do they change the roles?
I think they are becoming a little bit more flexible in terms of like years of experience, rather than, getting, 5 out of the 5 criteria that they want out of a candidate. They're being a little bit more flexible and being okay with maybe having 2 or 3 out of the 5 and doing a little bit more training. That I've seen quite a bit in the last, I would say, 6 to 12 months, where before clients were a little bit more strict on the type of candidates they wanted to see, but now they don't have a choice.
I mean,
sorry, James, go ahead.
Oh, good.
I was going to say that what does that mean long term for the quality of our supply chain? If people have to start to settle for certain things, and I don't know, we talked about it on a prior episode, but do we have the talent in this country to satisfy our own supply chain and manufacturing demands? What does that mean if we have to start settling?
How many times have you settled and made the progress you wanted to make?
I don't want to answer that.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Like I'm trying to diet, and I settled for a large pizza last night. It's not working out over here. We're not going to make progress, but what's the alternative? Like, if you want to survive, you need bodies.
You need bodies.
Yeah.
And we see that over another company, that does resume writing and career coaching and all that fun stuff. But we saw that business slow down because who needs a resume right now? You can send an email over to the company and say, "Hey, I saw you're hiring." They're like, "Fill out an app." It's back to like 1984 again. You don't need a resume. Fill the app out online. Can you start Monday? The problem is you end up hiring a lot of people that don't fit your culture, that maybe weren't the right fit. Now it's like they cause a lot of other issues. It's that old, I read in a management book somewhere, they say, slow to hire, fast to fire. It's one of those things where you took your time to make sure you're bringing in the right people. Now it's like, if you're willing to work, come. But now you're watching HR get buried in issues, unreliable people. I think someone in this article actually talks about reliable people, or actually it's a Bloomberg article I read this morning that was talking about stop blaming COVID for your poor service. And it's talking about companies' difficulty in hiring reliable and dependable people. And I hate saying this, but it's true. There's a bottom 20% of everything out there. Doesn't matter what it is. There is a bottom 20% of the workforce that isn't reliable. They steal. You can't count on them. They're just not the greatest workers in the world. And I think every company on the planet was always trying to weed those people out. Well, now it's like, we don't even care anymore. And then they tend to bring these problems in the organization. So when you're talking to HR professionals right now, how's work going? And they just start with a deep sigh, right? Because their life has gotten significantly more complicated in the last 18 months.
The article, and if you look at the graph, where the jobs between warehouse and transportation jobs, the warehouse jobs, I mean, I can't believe the spike today. I would almost think that the transportation jobs would have that spike, but it's the warehouse jobs of, as you mentioned, inventory, um, had the biggest demand. I wonder if it was just, are we building more distribution centers now um, to be able to store all these products that we're getting from overseas?
I mean, how many things do you really need in your home right now?
I was talking about the size of the home with my wife yesterday. Uh, Sometimes you think you need things and you don't.
Well, you think about it, there's probably nothing, the three people on this call, do okay. But there's nothing in your home you really need right now. But there's how many container ships sitting outside the port waiting to get offloaded. It's going back to that consumption thing where Kane and I talked about another show, bikes. I started trying to buy a bike last year, and the bikes are sold out for like 2 years. It's still hard to find a bike. Now, I don't see many people riding bikes, so where are all the damn bikes? We just bought everything we could buy because we had money. So again, I think we're watching the warehouse stuff go up because it's more and more inventory coming in. But at some point that has to fall, and maybe that's 2 years from now or 3 years. I don't think it necessarily has to crash in January, but this is a byproduct of a society that's got their hands on quite a bit of liquid money.
Do you think that has a lot to do? I mean, I got to believe we're on our mobile devices a lot more today. We're getting a lot more ads, and we're seeing these things as we're scrolling through our social media. You think the increase in purchases coupled with the money that's injected into the economy, I mean, that's got to be the winning combination there.
The worst thing ever was having Apple Pay on a phone. Like, I can be scrolling through Instagram and see something I never even thought about buying before, and in 2 clicks it's already shipped to me. And that's the same problem with Amazon. They make it so easy to check out. There's an Amazon truck in front of my house every day. Kane and I talked about the corrugated packaging shortage, and I'm part of that problem because I got so many boxes. It's ridiculous.
Just going back to that chart, then it's what happened in end of 16, 17 to where that chart it crosses over. Have we been really building? Is what we're seeing now in terms of the shortages just a function of the fact that crossed over in 2017? It's taken the delay. Because it is weird, like the idea that we can have more warehouse jobs and there's more demand at the warehouse, but transportation doesn't need to match it.
Maybe it's a couple things. Maybe it's the type of job. Is it sexier to be in a truck all day long, or would you rather be in a warehouse, doing a little bit more physical labor on your feet? I don't. Probably we're building more distribution centers to house all these products that we're getting.
Automation. They haven't automated transportation yet.
That makes sense.
What's funny is it's probably the last time when did I buy my truck? 2018. Yeah, it's 18. I bought, I don't know how many cars and trucks from this dude over the years. The last truck I bought, when I'm closing a deal with the guy, he's like, "Oh, this is the last truck I'm going to sell." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool, I guess." And he tells me he's going to go work for one of the aerospace companies. And I'm thinking, well, how long have you been selling trucks? He's like, I don't know, 20 years. I'm like, what kind of role did you get over there? He's like, oh, project management. I'm thinking, it sounds like, from the look of the guy, he's probably been selling cars since he probably worked at a car dealership since he got out of high school. And I'm like, oh. And so I'm thinking, how do you go from selling trucks to managing projects at an aerospace/defense company. And I think even back in 2018, we were starting to get a glimpse of we don't have enough skilled workers to do these jobs that we need done. And then COVID hit, mass consumption, chaos, and it just blew the doors wide open.
Yeah, and I think about this one often, but even the idea that we've pulled forward retirement for a lot of people, the markets have been so, well, I wouldn't say frothy, but they've been so good for so long that the issue of so many people retiring early, I think that's been building too. I mean, yeah, we had the catalyst of the last 18 months, but another part of the workforce that I think has been leaving at a faster clip than we need them to.
What just happened really accelerated it, as we talked about, right. 50, 55 and up. Those people are going to work to 62, 65. They never thought the stock market would do what it did, so they're out. You got the big companies soaking up talent. It's in so many different ways. We don't have enough people anymore to run society. We're used to conveniences, right? The Starbucks around me closes at 7 o'clock, and I get mad. I want to go to CVS and pick up a prescription, but they close at 7 now. We're used to that convenience. Everything open 7 days a week. Some things open 24 hours a day. I don't know if we have the people to sustain that anymore. Which, if you, from an investor standpoint, I often watch Yelp reviews, reviews in general of companies I'm looking to invest in. Have you seen anyone with reviews that are going up lately? Like, it doesn't matter what business you're in, customer service is just gone, and that's dragging everybody down with it.
Yeah, going to your point about the folks retiring early, I mean, I have a handful of neighbors that have retired early, probably like 5 years early, as James mentioned, closer to their early 60s, and they just don't want to deal with. Most of them don't want to deal with the labor shortage on their teams. So they're like, I'm done with this headache. I'm just going to retire early. I mean, that's almost quoted by my next door neighbor as why he left his job early.
Well, you got the shortage, and then you got this kind of anti-work movement going on top of it. Or you want, people want to, it's like the trend of people want to do less, they want to do less, they want to do less. So you got a worker shortage, and the people you do have in your team or want to do less, work-life balance. And I think back, when my father was working at a steel factory, when they had a shortage of workers, when things got busy, you worked overtime. It was common for him to work 10, 12-hour days, 6 or 7 days a week. We don't do that anymore. So now you're looking at a team like, I'm short-staffed. I can't get the people around me to actually chip in more than I need to. So the managers end up working 6 or 7 days a week, and I'm like, screw this, I'm retiring. The problem is those are the people that had the 30 years of experience, that reliable and dependable, that could really make some stuff happen. Well, a whole bunch of those people just exited the workforce, and that's not leaving a lot of companies in a good spot.
And that knowledge gap that's being left is concerning too. I think we're going to start hearing more about that in the next few years, I imagine. When all these people who, like you said, James, who've learned how to do a job for 30 years leave, so many concerning things.
That's okay. They got people that went to college. Everything is A-okay. But, that's you hear that from people in the business world, like my friends at Fortune 500s you got these people that come out of college and they think they're done. Like the 40-year career, you don't have to learn anything new. And so you realize, hey, you don't even come out of college. There was a poll on LinkedIn we did where 77% of respondents said college did not even prepare them for their first job. So why do you think it prepared you for your fifth job? These people that had the 25, 30 years of experience, they had so much knowledge of the customers, the products, the cycles, the industry. They're gone. There's no college degree that can make up for that. And it's like companies are in a pinch right now. I mean, if you're a Fortune 500 with 100,000 employees, you're going to figure it out. When you're that $50 million company, it hurts.
in many ways. I mean, because they obviously struggle, competing with those Fortune 100 companies for talent. And if they lose key team members due to early retirement on top of it to replace those jobs, I mean, it's that much more difficult.
But to close this one out, if I had to make a prediction, unless we keep printing money, that's a whole other conversation. But when we stop consuming, a lot of these problems go away. We're always going to consume. But if you look at the amount of consumption we've done in the last 18 months, it's crazy. And where did that money come from? Another Bloomberg article from this morning said the equities have essentially doubled since the pandemic started. For equities to go up, that means the people got to be buying stuff, right? Where did all that money come from? And now, obviously, as the stock market goes up, that means people got more money from their investments, right? At some point, that dries up. We're going to stop buying. Think about durable goods, just to close this one out. How often do you buy a washer and dryer?
10 years?
Every 10 years, 15 years, maybe.
10 or 15 years. Kane still goes to the coin-operated laundry, so he doesn't know. But we did an episode on GE making rain shops and all that stuff. If we went and bought a bunch of appliances right now, that probably means there's going to be an appliance slowdown in the next 5 to 7 years. Because durable goods you don't buy every year. It's not like buying paper towels or things that we use and throw away. And you think about the amount of durable goods we probably bought in the last 18 months, it's pretty mind-blowing. Bikes, for example. How often do you buy a new bike? Now that we have garages full of bikes, what's that mean for the bike industry? We were sold out of boats, RVs, jet skis, dirt bikes. These are not things you buy every 12 to 18 months. So we went on this big durable goods push. Well, we're not going to need that stuff for 5 or 7 years or more now. So I got to imagine at some point, this demand does slow down. Either because we've already bought it and there's nothing left to buy, or we run out of money to buy the stuff with.
So you're saying keep an eye on eBay?
Yeah, that's a running joke. It's going to be the world's biggest swap meet when the market finally does crash. I'm already seeing more and more stuff for sale on the side of the road. It all looks brand new, like it's not even used, right? But I think this is why we got so much money. The NFT market's blowing up. Our houses are so full of stuff we can't fit nothing more in them. We're going to go buy digital assets now. I'm gonna go buy a picture of a banana for like 34,000 or something. We'll see what happens.
Oh dear.
Anyways, that's all I got for this one.
Sounds good.